That's right, community, it's AI Friday. This week we will embed the most pertinent buckets on AI in the news to help you ingest for inference. Before we get going, don't forget to click like and subscribe. And now, unprompted, AI Friday.
Hello, community. How you doing today, Byron? Joel,
Hey.
Peter?
Very good, Aubrey. Good to be back.
Likewise.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, likewise. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody in the community. It's it does happen to be that day.
I'll be right back.
Oh,
It's late.
there's out of four, there's always going to be one.
Yeah.
Yikes. No, two, actually. I still have some things to do. I've been packing for a trip that I've got to go on soon. So, I wanted to squeeze in a quick vacation before I see you guys at App World, which is not this coming week, but the week after that in Las Vegas. So if anyone happens to be in Vegas or interested in application delivery and all of its related subjects, please don't hesitate to swing into App World. We've got room for all sorts of people. We'd love
What's
to see.
the line? Link below in the comments, or
You're getting good at this, man.
That's good. That's good.
Don't forget to click like and subscribe. That's the one I'm supposed to say right now. But we'll get to information in the comments before we're done. So welcome, community. We're back for AI Friday, and we are here to bring you a nice, kind of short and to the point episode with a lot of cool stuff, actually. And I don't even want to mess around with a lot. I did have one other announcement. We're not going to be on next week, so there's just no way I can do it. And I don't think the production can be replicated, so we're going to give you guys a break. And then after that, we will be back from App World. We are actually doing an episode at App World. So with that in mind, I do want to kind of jump right into all the stuff. So there was an amazing tweet that Joel brought up today, and I think we all spent a bunch of time looking at this. Sam Altman went ahead and talked about not just the OpenAI roadmap, but a whole lot more. Joel, what are your thoughts on this? There's so much data in just one tweet.
Yeah, there's a ton here to unpack, and some of it's a little strange, I have to admit. Clearly, what we're seeing here is OpenAI is responding to DeepSeek. Now, we got to roll back and talk about, I think DeepSeek occurred the week that we were doing our positivity episode, and so we all came in tremendously positive about things. With a lot of these technologies, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. And so we know now that DeepSeek did some really remarkable things with distillation of models that really reduced their cost of production, and it increased the ability to do the inferencing closure quickly. And that was great, but the cost of training it was not quite what they mentioned. Like, they borrowed a lot of resources, and they didn't necessarily say that they did so, but they did have access to 10,000 plus GPUs for the training set. Not a lot of people have that.
Right.
And if someone else is paying your bills, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is lower cost. It just means that the cost was transferred to somebody else. So, but the distillation element led to some really positive performance characteristics for DeepSeek, and I think that you're seeing Sam Altman and OpenAI respond in kind to this sort of thing. So they've decided that they are going to make GPT 4.5 the last non-chain of thought model, so the last non-reasoning model, which is kind of big news. So people have been referring to that as Orion. I think that's an internal code name that kind of escaped OpenAI. And after that, they're going to unify the O series, or the reasoning models, with the non-chain of thought GPT series models, so that they become one. And I think that's kind of a really interesting aspect to what they're proposing here. They're not going to ship O3 as a standalone model. That's down in the third to last paragraph there. And the free tier of ChatGPT will get unlimited access to GPT-5 at the standard intelligence setting. And this is a really weird comment, subject to abuse thresholds. I'm not entirely sure what that means, as long as you're not being impolite to GPT-5, I don't know if that's what the bar is. But what you're seeing here is that you're going to have a varying degree of intelligence and response from the very same offer from ChatGPT. So everybody in the free tier will get kind of the detuned version of the model, perhaps the one that's drawn from a distillation. And then pro subscribers will be able to access higher and higher levels of intelligence. This idea of gradiated intelligence in your model, and you pay for the higher intelligence and you don't pay for the lower intelligence, is a really strange thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly how I interpreted that. It was pay for play, and it was a tiered access model that was
Right.
that exposed. It's an interesting social experiment, I think, is what I read that as, right?
Yeah. I mean, clearly this is a response to DeepSeek, and DeepSeek did offer the ability to do things that were very similar to some of the non-chain of thought models that OpenAI was pushing out there, and that they're recognizing that that is creating kind of a business impact. And I think this is their response. Instead of gradiating based on the model, they're going to have one model, and you pay for gradiated intelligence within that model that they offer, which that's fascinating. I look forward to seeing exactly how this is going to actually pan out.
The interesting thing was there was some serious pushback though to DeepSeek, and I don't know whether a lot of the pushback was because there was socialized and incentivized pushback, and that caused people to have pushback. But like, this is kind of like, oh, there's a lower bar that we need to address, and we need to address it in a I don't know. I'm not sure that this is going to be the best for the common good. Like the people that are just want to make the odd request here and there. There was a joke this morning about how many ChatGPT requests somebody does a week, a day, a month, and most people pay the $20 in like for that. But there's a lot of people. Well, I would say most people. A lot of people will pay the $20. Not everybody pays that $20.
Yeah.
So are they not going to get the better answer? I was asking a couple different models the same question, like so not models, the same the similar question across multiple systems this morning to see what kind of answers I would get, because I was trying to figure this out, and they're very, very different. And if you have the same question to the same system twice, you get a different answer. What's that going to mean for the lower models? Is that could be widely different because the intelligence setting is so low, and if I pay $20 or $100, do I get the same answer and it's more validated? Maybe there's more context to it. It's very interesting.
Peter, you did say that there was pushback to DeepSeek, and I think to the hosted version of DeepSeek there absolutely has been some pushback. I mean, obviously, ownership of information and transmitting information to parties that are under laws that don't necessarily protect privacy as we are used to here in the United States. That's definitely been a pushback, but it's hard to push back against open source licensing for the same model. I mean, it's the DeepSeek model is licensed under an MIT license, and you can take it and run it locally, and it runs really well. And that's hard to push back against. And so we've been doing experimentation with it and having positive results. And now, I hate to read between the lines in Sam Altman's tweet, but in no place did he mention open source. And I think that is a distinction. And again, it's partly reading between the lines. Like, I know it's very clear that this is a response to the price pressure placed on them by DeepSeek. And they're trying to build a new business model to replace the old business model that was looking a little long in the tooth. But what the response didn't include was a mention of an open source release of some other, maybe older model.
Well, you read the comments, and there are open source models that are commenting there saying, hey, we're open source, we can help you out with this. And again, there's a big groundswell. So he didn't mention open source, but the comments,
everyone else is right,
like right at the very beginning.
Exactly. And so you kind of have to read between the lines anytime a CEO mentions something about their own technology, even if it is a highly technical CEO like Sam Altman. You got to read between the lines, and what are they not telling me here? Like, what's not going to happen? And the lack of a mention of open source and the fact that he didn't challenge the fact that there are open source models that are performing better is telling.
Performing better in some ways, right? I mean,
In some
there are
ways.
other ways that it's not. I mean, some of the glaring math errors and massive alignment switching. As I dug into DeepSeek, one of the things that fascinated me the most about it was that it's a mixture of experts model, which is really a bunch of different models. So you've got some generic models that are always on. You've got a model that's highly trained in dogs, and another one that's highly trained in quantum physics, and another this kind of thing. So it can really send to the right model. But as I was talking with somebody about alignment and alignment switching this past week, it occurred to me that each of those experts more than likely has its own alignment, and that would explain for the alignment switching that we saw in DeepSeek and things like that. It makes me wonder if we're going to see GPT-5 move to that mixture of experts type model, because clearly there are training advantages in it. There's a big training advantage, and of course there's some security risks involved in that as well. I just hope that OpenAI will spend some time really trying to figure out how they can mitigate some of those risks before moving to that kind of model.
I don't know, man. OpenAI has got a lot of pressure on it right now. I mean, I think we're about to talk about some other external pressure that's happening towards OpenAI here in just a moment.
So sort of definite segue there. Yeah.
Yes.
Real fast, because we talked about this in the pre-chat. Like, the way I see it is, if I was at OpenAI, which clearly I'm not, and I'm at F5, so we're architecturally and technology agnostic, which is great. They need to laser focus on enterprise, just like Microsoft's bread and butter, right? Like, sure, you can run DeepSeek, but good luck patching all those vulnerabilities. Like, what if something goes wrong? You need somebody to call. I think that's where they have a lot of work to do, because as Aubrey and I have done several sort of investigations, they're not transparent. They'll have an issue and it's embedded in a forum and it's like fixed. And you're like, well, what happened? What's the deal? Is there something under the hood that I need to know about? And I think that, to me, is, if I were to advise Sam Altman, not that he would listen to me, but I would say be more like your overlords, like focus on enterprise and sort of that playbook.
That's true.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think there's already, some trust there from a bunch of different companies. And there's clearly some competition, but I think that, that competition is kind of getting, well, there's an attempt anyways to shake up that competition, as you guys were alluding to. This past week, we also saw some guy who I've never heard of named Elon Musk, and he ended up bidding actually on OpenAI as what appears to be an effort to block OpenAI from going to a for-profit model instead of remaining a not-for-profit business, or at least governed by a not-for-profit entity, right? To me, I thought it was also very interesting that the board let his as I read this, they let his bid sit for 24 hours and didn't even, I don't think they thought it was real. And then their final response was calling it ridiculous, and it would appear that they're going to actually reject it.
This bid kind of confuses me a little bit. I mean, a lot of the articles gloss over the fact that Elon's involved in Grok, which is very much a for-profit AI play, right? And could if he believes in the technology's steering direction and believes that it needs to be curated by a nonprofit, turn Grok into a nonprofit. I mean, that would seem to make sense to me. Again, we don't need to cloud over the fact that OpenAI originally was established as a nonprofit to curate and manage the growth of this technology, and very famously turned towards the profitable side of the business, which I think is kind of pragmatic on their part. I do hold some of the same concerns about the commercialization of the technology and the path that it takes towards rapid commercialization. But $97.4 billion as kind of a stalking bid, I'm wondering if Elon's getting into another Twitter purchase here, where he commits to something without realizing exactly the enormity to what he's committing.
It's at the bottom of the article. SoftBank is and talks about another funding round, and
They're
saying
in
that
the funding
the
round right
valuation
now.
is
Yeah.
300 billion. So like 100 billion is astounding, but I don't think it's gonna make the cut, right?
No, and that's that. So that was the thing that struck me when I heard the 97 billion. I was like, I thought there were considerably more than that, and and then reading the article, it's 300 billion that they're putting it at. But again, I think there was a lot of trying to make this as news as the bid. Like, I think that's what the goal here is. I don't have illusions that anybody involved in this is doing this for altruistic reasons. Like that, I don't mean that as a joke. I'm serious when I'm saying that. But that OpenAI was as Joel aptly puts it, was pragmatic from moving from the non-profit, not a not-for-profit, but a non-profit organization to spinning off a sub company. The umbrella, it's the umbrella organization that they're trying to buy. It's not OpenAI the business. They're trying to buy the umbrella organization, right? Which is how it directs it is that guiding light that the things that we do for humanity, that's what that organization is supposed to do, that's supposed to drive AI in general. I don't understand why they're doing that. Like it's just, I think it's a, hey, look, we're going to wave some money here. We're going to get some press. It's going to allow us to people to talk about it more than anything else. I don't think there was a serious bid. They pulled it back pretty quickly.
I think it was serious for what it was intended to do, which is at the time when all of the funding priorities are being set for this Project Stargate, which does look like it's going to get an increased amount of investment from the government and not a reduced amount, that injecting a little uncertainty into the market is a good way to balloon prices, and perhaps that what we're looking at here is just an attempt to cloud the battlefield a little bit. And from that perspective, it's a decision one can make to place a bid that's a stalking horse bid that is not going to be accepted, but it creates pressure under bankers. It creates pressure under competition. I think that's probably what's at the root of this. But this is being done at a time when OpenAI is being pressured by open source. It's being done at a time when OpenAI is looking at major changes to its announced roadmap, where it knows it has to change up on technologies. I mean, and we're seeing that on the other side. We're seeing Meta also having to do some of the same things, reworking the way that it thinks that its model should be trained and how they should operate in response largely to DeepSeek and some of the distillation models. This is just noise at the time when pressure is applied. I feel for OpenAI and all of this. I don't think necessarily there's a way they can come out of this looking great one way or the other. But that's the whole intent of this bid, I think.
I think one thing that would make them look great is the valuation concept. That's the only place I disagree with you there. I think that, you've got Musk saying, I think you're worth 97, and we've got SoftBank coming back and saying, no, 300 looks about right. I think that's got to be a nice thing to say, wow, hey, we're worth $300 billion. And that was the one big thing that I got out of that article, was really, maybe this will change the consideration on OpenAI's valuation and what we think of it as being worth.
I actually never dug into who. There was a consortium that put that 97 billion together. I did not look at who else is in that list.
I think one of them was the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, if I remember correctly. But it's there's a consortium behind it. I'm sure he's not trying to spend his largesse from the Tesla board of directors.
He gathered the 47 billion for Twitter from several people.
Yeah.
Right? So.
The valuation is clearly above that. I mean, if you look at what OpenAI spent to just develop its models over time, it spent way more than $300 billion. It used a tremendous amount of Azure time in doing so. Mm-hmm. So honestly, in terms of the valuation, they definitely deserve a higher valuation than that. just because of the work underpinning the product that they produced. The people who are going to come out smelling like roses on this one are probably Microsoft, which holds an advanced stake in OpenAI, and also OpenAI is used liberally throughout Azure and a lot of its own products. So Microsoft gets the benefit of all of this downstream investment and attention being applied.
Mm.
Yeah, I've never heard of a pioneer in a space just throwing in the towel like before they've conquered the world. I can't imagine it's going to happen. And I pinged you about it, Joel, just because of our own sort of internal governance. I just finally got a new MacBook. Apple Intelligence is right there. And one of the things I noticed is, there's like built-in integration with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And that's just an example of they have so many, tailwinds behind them, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I look forward to seeing where this is going to go. And honestly, I hope that eventually at some point, maybe OpenAI will be convinced that some of its older models are suitable for open sourcing. That would be really helpful pressure to apply back to the other open source models, and maybe we can learn and improve the technology as an industry if they do that.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think that a year ago, it was almost a year ago to the day, right? It was like the end of January when Sam Altman stepped down, or was it before Christmas, like 23?
Oh, that seems so long ago,
I know,
Peter.
it does seem, but that's like 12, 13 months ago.
I think it lasted about as long as the TikTok ban, if I remember correctly. But yeah, there was a leadership kerfuffle, and you remember one of the main players in that drama was actually Elon Musk as well.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Part of me, obviously there's a business calculation, and you don't pull together 97 billion out of your pocket and go wave it around in front of somebody for no apparent reason. I also think that there's just some mutual dislike and distrust between the parties, and that I'm sure is fueling some of this.
Never would have thought that happened.
I would imagine. Ultimately, to me, it seemed as though it was just an opportunistic bid, if not just a press sort of like a stunt. Maybe it was like, hey, well, I'll give you this much for your value. What do you think? And just to see if they bite.
It's a Facebook Marketplace play, right? You put a $50 on it, and they say, "I'll give you $5 for it," right? So,
right. See, that's kind of what I think it is. And ultimately, you never know. I mean, Elon might just whip up a whole bunch of agents and try to socially engineer ownership of
come on now,
of OpenAI,
that never happened.
Which is actually another piece of news that we have teed up for the week, which is exactly how agentic AI will be weaponized for social engineering attacks. I know, Byron, you dug this one up. I found this pretty neat. I mean, we were talking a little bit beforehand, talking about how we have seen some of these attacks, but it's neat how they're going to be different with agentic AI. Eh?
Yeah, and the plug is, I think Elon Musk is going to be a big target, right, for deep fakes. I mean, I think all of us have gone through the recent cybersecurity training. They were showing deep fakes of Christopher Walken, and of course it was kind of a joke, as you could tell. But the thing that's astounding to me is, and we talked about this prior, like, this stuff just gets better all the time. So, like, yeah, to Joel's point earlier, this is not new. We've already been seeing AI being used to enhance attacks, to sort of democratize them in terms of making them available to everybody. So now even script kiddies can get dangerous. But now I think it's just really coming to the fold, right? Like being able to have your agents go out and help you craft personalized and convincing spear phishing emails, because it's all about deception, right?
Yeah.
So the more you know about somebody, the more you could perhaps deceive them, and this is just going to unleash that at a really high scale. I've already been seeing an improvement in phishing emails, right? Like, just not so much the inaccurate URLs or just the blatant misspellings. It's just like I had to stop and look and say, is this right? I was like, no, but Apple would not just deactivate my iCloud. That conceptually doesn't make sense. But they're starting to kind of address the low bearing fruit, right?
Yeah.
And then the deepfakes. This is probably the most scary to me. So I've already talked to my kid about a safe word and this and that, because we've already seen evidence of just getting a little bit of recording, whether it's audio or video, and then being able to sort of spoof that. And all of us, I think, are out there in the interwebs in multiple capacities. So we need to perhaps have a safe word for all of our family and friends, right? Because it's like, wait, is this really Joel? It seems so out of the blue that he would just like kind of ping me at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? And then just the relentless nature the self-improving, the adaptive, the learning. Perhaps it's, it's scraping all your social media, gleaning all these insights, and it's sort of trying to establish a beachhead. And then that just continues to evolve until eventually you do become deceived or you do something you're not supposed to. And the multimodal, it's not just going to be an email, right? It's going to be images, videos, all kinds of things. And the net was kind of like everything. Like, let's not forget about fundamentals, right? We need to have enhanced security training. We need to have a renewed sense of governance across all the corporate elements, and then we need to fight agentic AI with agentic AI.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think necessarily agentic AI changes the way that attackers are using AI. I think that they have been using it for a long time now. I've seen a definite improvement in the phishing emails that I get. I think the agentic AI changes the scale at which mass attacks can occur.
Yes.
Majorly. Because you can essentially turn one output into the feed of another input, and you can stitch together something that would have taken an attacker a long time to customize an attack for a specific individual. You can do that in mere minutes, and that gives me pause for sure. I used to tell people that you should avoid oversharing on socials and things like that, and you definitely need to caretake what's out on your socials. Like talking about specific projects that you're involved with at work on LinkedIn is probably a bad idea, because all they have to do is look at who you're connected with, and then they know exactly what emails might work to convince someone you're connected with that they are you. However, you really can't avoid sharing these days. I mean, especially in the line of work that we are in, we're presences on social media. And right so, now. Yeah, exactly. Like right now, like what you're listening to. So I think that, doing some basic standards of safety, like safe words, like you mentioned, Byron, that's going to become how we're going to get through the coming flood of deepfakes. I would say that if you ever see a deepfake of me and I'm like dancing with style, it's a deepfake. If you ever see a deepfake of me and I'm using I'm using slang properly, that's a deepfake. Yeah. So I mean, some things are pretty obvious if you know the person, right? You don't even need a safe word.
Wasn't it CISA that came out and said you just can't trust video anymore? Like, that's not enough. If you do video verification, it's not enough, right?
That's wild. But
so we have to know Joel, and we have to know that what he said, right? And that's how we know it's true or not.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I thought I saw him cutting a rug last time I saw him physically.
So, the one good thing deepfakes might cause is it might actually cause us to take greater, deeper personal interest in how each of us behave. Like, I'm going to have to get to know you a lot better, Aubrey, so that I can discern you from the deepfakes. So maybe the hidden part of this that's really good is we're going to get closer together because we kind of have to figure out who's fake and who's real.
It's scary to me. This article made me think back to a time when I was successfully phished. And I consider myself pretty good in terms of phishing. Things don't really typically get by me for the most part, but this was an internal test that our IT department ran, and I thought it was frankly unfair because they knew what time of year it was, and I'm not going to give away any secrets as to how they nailed me, but they knew what time of year it was, and they knew what utilities I'd be using internally because of that. And so they sent me an automated email from one of those utilities. Ended up nailing me because I was actually, and they must have known I was late on my reporting. So that was a thing. But an agent is going to be able to get that data super easy. So they're not going to need to be internal to be able to get me with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess we can't assume anything. We have to be vigilant about even the things we think we're positive about. That's annoying.
That happened to me, Aubrey. I will talk about it because it was a former employer who was very aggressive on phishing. I'm talking about Cisco. And so they were sending me a lot of equipment. They were sending me like the whole collab suite with the fancy monitor. And so I was expecting the package, right? And so, of course, what do? They send me the email about the update about my package. And then it's like, you failed the phishing test. And I'm like, really? So, yeah, I don't normally, because I don't normally get packages. So I normally would delete anything about a package that's clearly phishing. But it's like, but corporate is sending me stuff. So I fell for it too.
Yep. So I guess we're just going to have to be much, much, much more vigilant about this stuff in the future.
I guess so. And Aubrey and Peter, you gentlemen need to get moving and do something for Valentine's Day for your significant others. Otherwise, they will replace you with a deep fake. I'm telling you right now.
For sure.
That is true. I am going to get going here in a moment, but before I do, just definitely want to say thank you to you three gentlemen for being here with me and braving the social media aspect of this role. So it's appreciated. And also thank you, community. It's always great to engage with you. Speaking of which, of course, if you are in Vegas, not next week, but the week after, please come check out App World, right? That's F5's user conference. So there's a lot of data there. And if you still think we're that load balancer company, we're not. You're going to be getting a whole lot of AppSec stuff, goodness, and a ton on artificial intelligence. We've got a lot of exciting announcements and a lot of really fun people to meet there. I think we'll all four be there. So come see us. And I don't know, get a selfie with Joel. It's going to be worth money someday. I promise.
Dance with Joel.
Sure.
Dance with Joel. Yeah.
Oh,
I like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think I can't confirm this, but I think they are going to bring the espresso with the little emoji back. That was a hit last year. You guys remember that?
Yeah, the espresso printer. Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. So there's fun stuff to do. Hopefully we'll see you there. And if you can't make it to Vegas, of course, please click like and subscribe to AI Friday. Have a good one.
Thanks.
We hope you liked this instantiation of AI Friday. We will be instantiated again next week, same time, same place, and hope to again infer with you. Before we depart, promptly subscribe for all of our content and click like to let us know you enjoyed AI Friday.